Alright, hello my YouTube friends. Long time no see. So I want to talk about this today because there's other things that I want to talk about as well, and I need to get this one out first. So we're going to talk about the evil eye, right? The one eye. The one eye. And going into this, right, we're not going to talk about the evil eye as what everybody else will say about the evil eye. Is the pure man, the spiritual man who sees with spiritual eyes. So, to quote one of my other videos here, the way that you perceive things in the external world, the world around you, the way that you perceive reality is based on the things that you have in your heart. Right? Earth is heart. Same thing. If you're full of fear, everything is scary. Everything is Illuminati, devil worshiper, QAnon bullshit. That if you have fear and hate in your heart, that's what you see. If you are pure of heart and have a heart full of love, you will see all things as pure, all things as one. The world, reality around you is a mirror. And all you will ever see in the mirror is yourself. I'm going to really drive that one point home in another video sometime. If I ever get the time to do it here. So again, this video, and pretty much every video that I've made, is presented by the pure heart. So, what is the evil eye? Well, the most obvious example would be the eye on the back of the dollar bill at the top of the pyramid. Said by the fearful, the two-eyed man, that's the man who sees good and evil, the man who believes that there is one God who created everything, but there's also another God who's evil, who's just as powerful, and you know, all that commotion. In the land of the two-eyed man, the man who sees double, the one-eyed man is king. So, said by the fearful, the two-eyed man, to be the eye of Satan, or Lucifer, or the Illuminati, or any other crap. The superficially woke, that is, people who are woke to things that are just nonsense, they believe it's a symbol of the Illuminati, which honestly, I mean, what isn't? You know, there's people that will spend 10 years studying Illuminati and all that shit, and literally they will see a star, a 5-point star, that's a symbol of the Illuminati. A 6-point star, that is a symbol of the Illuminati. A 7-pointed star, that is also a symbol of the Illuminati. A square, that's Illuminati. A rectangle, that's Illuminati. A triangle, that is also Illuminati. It doesn't end. Everything is Illuminati. Nothing is Illuminati. So, to these people, right, this kind of gets into why everything is Illuminati. And essentially what I'm trying to say here is that they need to not only believe, they need to persuade you that there is some external force, some group of people or some entity so powerful that exists outside of them, that it controls society so tightly that no one succeeds at anything without the approval of this group of individuals or entity or whatever it may be. It's something that they can lay their own failures and shortcomings on. I have a favorite saying. I actually have several. But the saying is, whether you believe you can or you believe that you cannot, either way, you are correct. right? If you believe that there is this group of all-powerful people who just control society down to the frickin' letter, but you believe that you can overcome that group of people and achieve great things, then you can. And thus, it's not worth mentioning. Or you believe that you can't, and then you can't. And then you have someone to lay your own failures on. And that is the point of the Illuminati. And I don't mean that in a breeds passivity kind of way, but there are plenty of examples of that too. So, and that's why everything is a symbol of the Illuminati to some people. So the one-eyed man, right, knowing this, knowing the nature of man, he sees this eye differently, okay? A big point of these videos that I do here is to ignore what you've heard about something, what the world told you that the eye was, or what the world told you that God was, or even where the world told you that God was. Because you're made to believe by the world that God is just in the sky hanging out waiting to blast your ass with a lightning bolt. That's not the case at all. There is because the external world is a reflection of the internal world, there is an image of God that does exist in the sky, that is the source of all life and light, and that's the sun. Just as within the sun. Anyway, let me get on track here. So to the pure-eyed man, right? It just so happens that there is a Bible verse that specifically says there is but one God who has eyes to see, ears to hear, a body to walk with, a spirit to breathe. Therefore, how could an eye be anything other than a symbol of the one God that has an eye? Remember this, when the prophet Elijah was talking to some group of people who worshipped Beelzebub, or one of the other 90 names for this imaginary deity that doesn't exist. Why do the heathen rage and imagine a vain thing? These people created their own God, who did, this God would do what they wanted. And when Elijah said, all right, well, have your guy call down fire from the sky, nothing happened. Because this Beelzebub, or I'm not sure if that's the name that they were using then, but this imaginary devil god guy did absolutely nothing because he doesn't exist. That's the entire point of nothing. There is one God, and there is one God with eyes to see, ears to hear, a mouth to speak. So then, whose eye is that eye? So, to a man in darkness, right? To a man who wanders in ignorance and loves his filth, he may see that eye and believe, oh, that's bad. Okay, when a bad person who enjoys being bad, whether through willful ignorance in general, or specifically knows that what they're doing is wrong and they choose to do it anyway, when that person does those things and they see something righteous, they believe it to be bad because it is bad for them. It means trouble for them. Let me think of an example here. It's hard to do because the things that society calls bad, I don't necessarily call bad, like bank robbing. Okay, you might think, oh, robbing banks is bad, but really, nah. Maybe it's just me. Okay, so let's say someone is incredibly violent and just loves hurting people. Okay, when they would see this eye that is the one God, the Father, they would believe it to be bad because it means punishment for their deeds. That was a lot of work to make such a simple statement. In the righteous is evil because he fears being exposed. That's what that entire verse is about. That's one of my favorite things to think about. How men's minds are so inverted that they do evil and call righteous things wrong. That's evil because it's righteous. So, the evil eye, what's evil about an eye, is called, on the dollar, the eye of providence. Now, you'll find this funny, I'm sure. The term providence is a root word, provide, meaning to supply something, and a suffix, ence, provide, ence. Ence, meaning the action or process, as in correspondence, the action or process of corresponding. Tolerance, the action or process of tolerating. Therefore, providence is the act of providing, the eye of the provider. Who's the provider? Who gives and takes away? Oh shit. The God of Isaac and Abraham and Jacob, who is the God, the rewarder. What's that word? I'm sorry, I haven't been in that section of the Bible in a while now. But we'll just move on. Providence is the act of providing, which relates directly to our Father in heaven within. But etymologically, providence is God as beneficent caretaker of his creatures. I feel like we've established pretty thoroughly that the eye on the dollar is in fact the eye of the only God who has eyes to see. If somewhere in here you've noticed a relation or reference to any imaginary god, Beelzebub, Satan, Lucifer, any one of these qualities of men that men have taken and created an entirely separate entity for, feel free to let me know, because I didn't see it. So, this is what you find when you look for yourself and you don't listen to what others believe. Okay? Because as I was just talking about, evil people see righteous things and they label them as evil. Okay? 99% of the people in the world are in fact evil. Whether it's through ignorance or it's through choice. They are evil, if you want to call it that. But when you're a child, you don't really pay attention to these things, right? And then you grow up and the world tells you what all these things are. They tell you what God is, where God is, who you are, what you are, why you are, what the eye is. There's an Illuminati. There's a devil. They tell you all this shit, right? But if you actually ignore what they said, because they're evil, and you go look at these things yourself, you come out with an entirely different understanding of everything. And that's what I do here. I ignore what people said. Ignore what the world told you these things were. Like the Leviathan. They said it's a big giant snake. Or it's a snake in a tree, in a literal physical garden that existed somewhere on Earth. That's not... How the hell? Now, if you believe and accept what majority of the world believes, you'll believe that it's a physical garden with a physical snake and a physical tree, and there was a physical fruit, and you'll miss the entire point. That's just what it is. This is what you find when you look for yourself. Now, if that is what providence means, one more time for clarity, God as beneficent caretaker of his creatures. If that is what providence means, and there is only one God with eyes to see, and anything that happens is God's will. Does everything right now, right at this moment, everything is exactly as it should be. It can't be anything else. There's nothing to worry about. Everything is exactly as it should be. Even when you don't understand it. If all those things are true, and they are, how in the world did we get, as mankind, did we get to the point where a good chunk of the population believe that the eye is the eye of a devil? They believe that there is the eye of a devil on money. How did that happen? Don't get me wrong here. I know what money is. I know what it represents. I know economics. I understand it. Believe me, I get it. I even know how government works, what the entire nature of government is, commercial codes. I know all those things, right? Contracts. I study law majority of the time. I get all those things. The very nature of those things I get. But how did we get to this point? Literally, people look around they can look at anything. Sorry guys. People can look at anything and they will swear up and down that it is a symbol of the devil. It's just a fearful mind, I guess. Everything is as it should be. Remember that. And that's what the single-eyed man does. He knows there's one God. Everything is his. All the squares, triangles, stars, technology. People say technology is Luciferian. Ooh, how? So, there is nothing as far as symbolically here. There is no symbol that is a symbol of some other deity. Nothing. Unless you give it that. Unless you take what is God's and then give it to something that doesn't exist. Now, the single-eyed man knows all these symbols are of God. God is in control now. You can look around. The sky is God's. The ground is God's. Everything is God's. And he chooses what happens to it. Even the physical world, where we're at, right here. Everything reaches up towards heaven, towards the sun. That's not random. It's the allegory that life is. The very mountains and trees, they reach up for the sun. On that note, I do want to add that it is probably not a coincidence that excuse me for using the globe model here, but between the earth, you, me, right? The earth is you. And then the sun is the Son of God, the Son of Man. Between that is Venus, love, and then Mercury, alchemy. You suppose that's coincidence? Past Earth, in the opposite direction, towards dead, right? Because if the solar system represents life, the sun in the center, the Son of God, Son of Man, and you are the earth 3 spaces away. To get to the sun, you need love, Venus, and then you need alchemy, which is transmuting the terrible things of the personality into divine things of the personality, transforming the hate in your heart into love. That's alchemy. But the opposite direction towards death is Mars, which is war, hatred. That isn't coincidence. That is allegory. That is metaphors. And it's poetic. So, sorry, I got off on a tangent there. Reality here is an inverted image of actuality. And in case you don't know, I call the physical world here around us, the earth around us, the external, is reality. Okay, it works and it's got its own processes and laws. And I call the inner world and man, the inner man, I call that the actuality. Because this is reality out here. But actuality. So, I hope somebody learned something from this. I'm just about done. To put this bluntly, okay? If you see something, in this case, it's the evil eye, and you say, "Oh no, Satan sees me," you're hiding, right? You've done something, and you feel guilt for it, and you are hiding from being exposed. That's the entire point of confession. You are afraid of that eye of God is going to see you. It's not something, it's probably not something that most people are even consciously aware of. This is a subconscious thing. I'm not going to go on another tangent here about survival instincts and all that shit, but I was going to. That's the point, though. You see the eye and you say, "Oh, it's evil," because if you don't, exposure. Alright, so you want to hide those things, which is not possible in the slightest. It doesn't matter what you feel guilty or remorseful or regretful about. There's nothing hidden that will not be made manifest. You could try to hide it, but first it will manifest in your thoughts, and then it will manifest in your behaviors. And once it does, any intelligent person will be able to see that your actions reflect the inner man. I guess that's how you could say that. The outer man is an image of the inner man, which is interesting. They say that beards are a symbol of wisdom. And supposedly back in ancient Greece, if you didn't have a beard, my beard is giant, you weren't allowed to speak on philosophy and things of this nature. But your behavior says a lot about your mental state. Sorry, I went off again. The Son of God, which is the Son of Man, which is just the Son, the Son. Let me try to make this point, right? Man, you and I, we were made in the image of God. Okay, you were made. That doesn't mean that you will always be in the image of God, or you will be for a while, then you won't be, then you will be, then you won't be. It means that when you were born, when you were made, it was in the image of God. So, what were you like when you were born? Are you now what you were like then? And if not, it's not. What was the difference? The fruits of life. Alright. So, the Son of God, the image of God, which you were when you were born, lives within man and sees through your eyes, feel everything in your heart, which is why babbling out prayer in the street for all to see means absolutely nothing. You have to enter the heart itself, and that is where the Lord is. You cannot lie to the heart, okay? You can do shit and you can feel regret and remorse and guilt, and you can deny those things consciously. You can tell yourself, "Oh, let it go, don't care," but in your heart, you can't do that. So, I guess that's it. Here's my point, okay? If Cain and Abel had both seen an evil eye, Abel would have instantly recognized it, as he does all things, as a symbol of God, the one God with eyes to see. Cain, on the other hand, would not have seen it so clearly. That's the masses are like Cain, okay? And this is a video that I really want to do on crab mentality, okay? And this is the Cain. This is 99% of the world. If they see you succeed, they will do everything they can to ruin everything good that you have going on. It's an envy, jealousy thing. I literally don't talk to anybody just because I'm aware of the nature of man. I understand how people are, and what gets me is they don't want to change it. They see someone doing good and succeeding and achieving things, and they feel this envy or hatred, whatever it may be. I don't know. I don't have it. But they know that they feel that way. And they know that they're doing these things that are wrong to try and hurt this other person. And not one time do they stop and say, I shouldn't do that. They just go on and do anything they can to try and slow you down. So, crab mentality. If you have a bunch of crabs in a bucket, okay? If you have a bunch of crabs in a bucket, one crab will try to climb out of the bucket, and he may succeed in doing so. But if he does, if he gets on to the top of the bucket to climb out, another crab in the bucket grabs him. I don't know if this is like the crab trying to get out with him, but what happens is, let's say that first crab makes it out, which usually doesn't happen. The second crab pulls the first crab back down into the bucket so they can all die together. But even if that first crab were to get out and the second crab would be at the top of the bucket ready to escape, a third crab will grab him. And my point is, people, Cain, 90% of the world will drag you down to destruction right along with them. They would rather you and me fail and perish with them than you actually do good and succeed and do anything worth talking about. That's true story. They'll tell you that the eye on the dollar bill is the eye of Satan, so that you're as fearful as they are. It's a strange discussion, but human nature is very fascinating. Very fascinating. That's called crab mentality. Look it up if you want to. It's really interesting. I plan on doing a whole video on it, but I plan on doing videos about all kinds of shit and never seem to do it. But I also have 2 businesses, homeschooling, another job, you could call it if you want. Plus, I like messing with my van here. All kinds of stuff to do. So, but that's it for this one, guys. The evil eye isn't so evil after all. Peace out. Love you all.